that would be the whole reason I did it. Part of it was having a sign on the 412 is short. It's a best storage.
Don't forget the zoning.
Yeah, it's what we call a sister truck.
Yeah. Well, I never know.
Good evening and welcome to the January 2024 work session of Sullivan County Commission. I invite everyone to remain standing through the end of the Pledge of Allegiance delivered by Commissioner Jones. But first, our invocation by Commissioner Crawford, sir.
Let's bow for prayer. Holy God, with thankful
Hearts, we come before you this evening to give you thanks for all that you've done for us. This time that we have to come together now to do business for Sullivan County. God, may we seek your advice and your guidance as we consider things that we need to do for the betterment of our community. Thank you for the good health you've given us thus far to be here. We give you praise. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Face the flag and proper salute. Pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
When the board opens, please record your presence. Has everyone recorded their presence? Madam Clerk.
16 present, 8 absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have a quorum. First order is item number 1, the resolution to consider amendments to the Sullivan County zoning plan, sponsored by Commissioner Cowton and myself. Without objection, please cast your vote on item number 1 when the board opens. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk.
17 yes, 7 absent.
Item 1 is approved. We will go into recess for the purpose of public hearing on the zoning amendments. Recognize Ms. Torbett on Amendment 1 from the well. And before Ms. Torbett gets started, if anyone is here for public comment on any of the amendments, let's allow Mrs. Torbett to get her information to the commission, answer questions from the commission. Then we'll recognize you from the public on that specific zoning amendment.
Okay, and if you recall, we started putting these in your mailboxes back there. I saw a few, so I handed them out, but otherwise, share with your neighbor if you didn't get it, the color copy. We have 2 individual rezoning requests from landowners to present to you tonight, and we're also introducing, seeking your approval to create a new planned artisan district. The first request is from Mr. Jack Vickers. It went to our Sullivan County Regional Planning Commission. He is requesting his lot on Hickam Orchard Road in the Kingsport area to be rezoned from R1 to A1. There is the zoning map. If you go to the next slide, ma'am, thank you. Those are pictures of his property. He did get a permit for that garage, and he would like to expand the square footage of that garage. So, this is the survey of his property. He actually already purchased a little bit more land to make room to meet the setbacks. This went again last month to our planning commission. There was neighborhood opposition. The planning commission voted against this request because it is a spot zoning. And also looking at the land use plan map, it completely matches the zoning map, keeping this low density single family residential. It's an older established subdivision.
You've heard the explanation. Any questions for Mrs. Torben on amendment number 1? Mrs. Torben, is anyone here that'd like to speak on amendment number 1 from the public? If you will, sir, please introduce yourself, your address, and if you're okay with it, commission would like to ask you some questions when you're finished, sir.
All right, I'm Jack Vickers. I'm the one that owns the property. Wanting to, on 142 Hickam Orchard, just wanting to add on to my garage there. I've got a concrete pad there next to it that used for parking. I'd asked for A1 zoning, and without knowing all the exact zonings, that's what I was, instructed to ask for, and it says on there 2,400 square foot. Right now I've got the 1,200 that's allowed, and I only need a 1,980 to cover up that concrete pad, so I didn't need the whole 2,400, but that's what it said on the A1. But anyways, I think there was some neighborhood opposition with worried about me starting a business or running a business or doing something with business up there. That's all just rumors of a subdivision. And, I've really went above and beyond on my garage to make it match the home with the vinyl siding and the shingles instead of just throwing up a pole barn. Try to make it as nice as I could. Me and my dad's built it all, and what I want to add on is another section, 26 foot wide, to store. My cousin gave me a tractor with a finish mower and a bush hog for my field out front, and then I've got a boat and another car to put in there. It's really all I want, instead of just leaving it on the parking pad, is what I'm going for. Probably all I got, really. So,
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Vickers? Mr. Vanderbilt.
Jack, it says here on your application that you're going to use this for farm implements. Do you have anything else besides that tractor? Or do you plan on doing any farming? Or?
no, sir, not right now.
Do you feel like this would be any imposition on your neighbors to build this garage and to have those cars? Do you think your neighbors would be inconvenienced in any way by your garage, by what you're trying to build?
Definitely not.
But A1, as I understand it, is supposed to be some kind of farming occupation, some kind of farming going on there to qualify for A1, but you really don't do any farming yourself?
No, sir, I work 60 hours a week at Holston Defense.
Okay. That's all I want to know, thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Vickers? If that changes, we'll let you know. Somebody might have a question. Mrs. Corbett. We'll let you give you the last word on amendment 1.
I'd
Just
like to say something.
neighbor, yeah.
If you will, sir, introduce yourself and your address for our record.
So my name is Richard Shorts. I live at 209 Cheney Drive. It's a couple houses up on the Cheney side. My house overlooks where he's built. I moved here from Texas, moved in 2019. I moved to Virginia and was renting there while I found a place to live. It took me and my wife a year to find a place we found suitable, and we chose the place we did because it had trees, it had hills. I very much was opposed to him just going in and cutting down multiple very large trees that had no issues, except they were in the way of his garage. And he cut down another large tree that wasn't even anywhere near his garage. So like I said, I don't know if my feelings on where I want to live have any bearing, but that's certainly why I moved here. And I object to him wanting to add more onto it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Before I recognize Mr. Torres, anyone else want to speak on this specific zoning? If you will, sir, introduce yourself and your address.
My name is Gary Darnell. I live at 112 Hickle Orchard Road, a couple houses over from Cody. The concern I have about this garage is when he started building it, he actually intended on building the whole thing at one time. That's the reason he poured the concrete pad. And they had also, he got the permit to build what he's got now on your pictures, but they tried to sneak and build the other walls up after dark one night. And the county made him tear them back down because he was going to expand the garage all on his own. And so then after they made him do that and he couldn't do anything else, that's when he put in for the rezoning to try to get it added on that way. But my problem is Cody owns a garage in Kingsport that he rents, and they rebuild cars, and he has a guy that works for him there. And from what we've understood, it, he's told people that he's wanting to use this garage when he gets it built to move his business downtown up there to restore the cars in. And we don't really want that in our neighborhood as far as the noise and the traffic that it causes. And that's my big concern about it. Right now, he already has UPS, FedEx trucks running in and out of the neighborhood 2 or 3 times a day delivering car parts at his house on our street. And they're tearing the roads up, they're tearing the driveways up, and it's gonna get worse if he ends up starting to work out of it as a working garage to rebuild cars for customers. And Arcadia is a historical district, and we just don't want stuff like this in our neighborhood. And that's what my concern is about it. And I want to thank you for giving me a chance to speak.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Ma'am, if you will, please introduce yourself and your address.
My name is Joyce Ketron, and I live at 120 Hickam Orchard Road, which my property actually joins Cody's on a second lot that he has there. Cody made the comment that he didn't want to.
You here, pull the microphone down enough to reach.
Sure.
You're fine. If you would, restate your name and address, please.
Oh, okay. Joyce Ketron, and I live at 120 Hickam Orchard Road. My property adjoins part of Cody's property. He has 2 lots there. And when he made the remark that he didn't want the inconvenience or the aggravation to the neighbors, it's very much so. Cody and I actually share the entry into his driveway. And the trucks and the delivery and the garbage trucks and things that goes all the way to the top to his property have to come across part of my property. And they feed up about 3 feet of my corner of my front yard, which I haven't said anything at all about it. But when it comes to hauling cars and loaders and all that stuff in, it's going to be even worse. And I would prefer not to have it there.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else on this particular amendment? Mr. Vickers, I will allow you to say something if you need to.
Yeah. Just figured.
On the amendment though.
Yes, back to the amendment, I know there's a lot of concern, like I said, with the neighbors and really worrying about that I'm gonna have a business, and that's what a lot of that's based on. I mean, the UPS trucks and the FedEx trucks, that's just, nowadays everything gets delivered. And the trash truck, that's gonna happen one day a week, it's just part of it. But, also, she's right, the driveway is killed, and even, we said we gotta get all the concrete construction done before we can do a new driveway. That's why I'm, originally trying to push this through to get it done, because eventually I do want to do this addition one way or another, eventually. And, but that's, the whole business thing, run the business, like he said, Mr. Darnell said, I've got a garage out in Sullivan Gardens that I have a hot rod business out of. I got a license, pay tax, got an employee working there, rent's super cheap, good location, wouldn't move it for nothing. So it's not coming to my backyard. I'd hate to bring something like that to, a little subdivision. And, so, anyway, so that's it.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Torbett? Excuse me, I'm sorry, I looked away from the screen. Mr. Jones? Thanks, sir.
Mr. Vickers, were the trees that were cut down on your property?
Yes, the 90% of the trees there was one that was an agreement to cut down when I built the place because it was dead. It was just east of me. And there's another one north of me on Joyce's property that I was wanting to pay to cut 3 limbs out of it that was hanging over my apartments. But talked to her and come down to decided to just, while the tree workers was there cutting down one of my trees, it was a large tree, they went ahead and cut it down. But the little saplings that was behind where my garage is, they were small enough, I plucked them with a little excavator.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out on this map, which there's no house numbers that I can see on the map to see where these people live.
Right above 12, oh, go ahead.
Well, in relation to Mr. Vickers on these maps, to see where we're, that doesn't have the house number.
No, those
That's
are
what I'm
parcel
looking for,
numbers.
to see how close they are.
Well, it clutters up a map really quickly, I'm sorry. If you go back to the first zoning map, see, the zoning map looks just like a land use map. The house numbers, we don't usually add them to your PowerPoint because it clutters it up. Just like we don't add landowners, because landowners, our data can be very out of date.
Right.
But in your packet, you have the minutes from the planning commission and so forth. But
Right.
yeah, sorry about that. But
Thank you.
the folks that have spoken all received letters from us as adjoining landowners.
I'm not an adjoining landowner.
Wait, well.
Excuse me, Mrs. Torbett,
Yeah.
if you're finished, Mr. Vickers, Mrs. Torbett from the well, please.
You done? Okay. And then, of course, we've had a sign out there for a couple of months. So we did get phone calls from other folks in the neighborhood as soon as the sign went up. And then followed up with the letters. And that's all I have. The planning commission unanimously recommended against this because it is a clear spot zoning and there was nothing that we could support the change.
I think we have a few folks seeking recognition. I'll begin with Commissioner Ward, then Commissioner Akers.
Amber, what's the square footage he's allowed?
1,200 in
1,200.
R1, yeah, subdivision.
Okay, and he currently has that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in compliance right now, as far as I know. Yeah.
Commissioner Akers.
Thank you, Chairman Pro Tem. Amber, the map that's on the screen and the map that we have right here, where's the closest A1?
much further out. Believe it or not, even the larger tracts are zoned R1. This whole neighborhood is R1.
So, as someone who sits on a planning and zoning, this is a classic example of spot zoning, 100%. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't want to use the word illegal, but it is highly discouraged and will be overturned in a court of law. So, I mean, with all due respect, as long as he's in compliance now, there's really just nothing we can do. Thank you.
Commissioner Bannon.
Ms. Corbett, in your field notes, it says that there was concern that there may not be enough setback variance. Is that still a concern?
So there may not be enough room to add on and meet the building setback. He did, as I showed in the survey, acquire 30 more feet in the back to accommodate what he did build. But the main reason R1 in a traditional subdivision is more restrictive than A1 is because typically the lots are smaller and you want to make sure you're not overbuilding the lot or crowding your neighbor. And so those are just the standard safeguards. If you have lot to lot buildings, then you have no yard space, and that's out of character with everyone else in the neighborhood.
Like I said, I know all the parties here. I know the Vickers family. I know the neighborhood opposition folks that are here. They're all great people, and it's all good families. But in a situation like this, I believe the right thing to do is just leave a subdivision, and leave people with the reasons they moved there in that subdivision in the first place to enjoy some peace and quiet. So I'd be opposed to this rezoning.
Commissioner McMurray.
You'll have to excuse my ignorance, but this rezoning, is it just for the building, or are there any restrictions as far as how he can use this building? Because it sounds like that's a lot of the consternation that we're hearing is like, oh, well, it's going to be used for this or going to be used for that. Are there any restrictions, let's say he does build this, on how he can use it?
Right, so for residential zones and agricultural zones, it's not zoned commercial. So he can store cars, boats, RVs, whatever, personal, residential, typical, accessory, incidental, subordinate, all those terms are in the definition of the zoning code. So yes, he can put any of his personal vehicles in there, whatever he can fit. So that doesn't change between R1 and A1.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if he does, let's say, hypothetically, he does this, and he adds this addition, and then he does actually use it for a business, that would be a violation, right?
It would, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You can work out of your home, you can do home-based businesses, of course, but anything related to cars, selling, fixing, if it's not your personal, obviously, have at it with your personal, but to resale or whatever into market, that can't be residential or in the garage.
And just, I guess, going down that same logical conclusion, let's say that he was using it for an improper purpose. How long and how hard would it be to actually enforce any kind of regulation that we would have?
Yeah, so that is part of the duties of the building official, and if we're made aware of it, he will act on it, of course, and
File suit, is that what it is?
no, we don't file suit. Typically they work it out with the landowner to bring it to their attention and hopefully get it resolved. If not, it goes to the county attorney.
Okay.
If that doesn't work, then yes, it does go to court.
Okay.
Yep.
Commissioner Jones.
Amber, in an accessory building or in this way, an expansion, does it have to be enclosed or can it be, does that include something like our farmer's market, open air type? Are all those considered?
Those are all considered structures, yeah.
Okay.
Just like a carport, lean-to, canopy, gazebo, even if it's not enclosed.
Okay.
is a structure. But a concrete pad, driveway, patio at grade are not structures.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Mrs. Torres, that concludes the information on Amendment 1. Without objection, if you're ready to vote on Amendment 1 without objection, please cast your vote on Amendment 1 when the board opens. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk.
1 yes, 16 no, 7 absent.
Having failed to receive the necessary majority for passage, Amendment 1 fails. Without objection, Mrs. Torben on Amendment number 2.
Okay, thank you. So getting back to your packet, thank you so much. Case 2, the star is centered on those 3 parcels. Our parcel map is a little out of date. As you can see, everything around it is zoned A1. They would like to request to go to A2. Next slide, please. This is the property. They have over 4.5 acres because they combined those parcels into one larger parcel. Those are pictures from the property. This is a survey. It's in your packet. I know it's faded, but that's the way it comes from the scanned version from the register. Again, that just shows where recently those lots were combined. And then this is the land use plan. And this is where, of course, A2, when you're not making it more restrictive in A2, this is a land use plan, and this whole area, the Planning Commission and the land use plan designates basically as A2. Larger tracts, open space, they're not subdivision lots, and it's in a rural area of the county. So in this case, and there was no opposition, the Planning Commission recommends in favor of this request.
Heard the explanation on Amendment number 2. Does anyone have any questions for Mrs. Torben on Amendment number 2? Mrs. Torben, does anyone here from the public wish to speak on Amendment number 2?
They're here, but no.
No one from the commission have any questions or comments? Mrs. Torben? Ready?
Sure thing, thank you. That's the next.
You've heard the explanation on Amendment number 2. Without objection, when the board opens, please cast your vote on Amendment number 2. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk?
17 yes, 7 absent.
Having received the necessary majority for passage, Amendment number 2 is adopted. Without objection, Mrs. Corbett on text Amendment number 3.
Okay, thank you. In your packet, and on the screen is sort of a summary, but in your packet is more detailed information. The Planning Commission is recommending creating a new district called Planned Artisan District in Chapter 5, where the other manufacturing districts are. This went through all 3 regional planning commissions and approved unanimously from those planning commissions. I had an opportunity to also follow up and go to Bristol Planning Commission to help them understand. So all good feedback. The Planned Artisan District would be a new limited manufacturing retail district. Currently, we do not allow woodworking or any kind of manufacturing in our commercial districts, but our current manufacturing districts are kind of overkill, if you will. We have several folks, specifically one couple, waiting for this to be approved because they applied for an M1. That was all we could offer them currently. to be able to build their woodworking shop and gallery on Highway 126. They live on the property and they want to build and zone a couple acres just for this woodwork shop. Again, the owner, it's, his business, and M1 from Planning Commission response was too broad because it's really general manufacturing, warehousing, storage, distribution. This is a lot more restrictive, and this is really to encourage folks who have those traditional skills to be able to have a place that they can do their craft and be able to sell it. And not just be dependent on internet sales or craft shows. The Planned Artisan District, the description is in your packet. The listings would be small-scale artisan-oriented light and customized manufacturing such as artisan workshops, art studios, cultural creation centers, gallery workshops, jewelry making, pottery, traditional guild group learning spaces, shared or collaborative workshops, sculpting, traditional guild, blacksmithing, woodworking, and the like. And so if you're familiar with the Gatlinburg area in the county that have the Arts and Craftsmen District, it's a rural area, but it's been around a long time. The owners, the artists live on site and they have their studio. You can even do your own pottery making, because they have all the kilns there. And so, obviously they were created before that county had zoning, but it is a recognized district now. Asheville has the Arts and Crafts District on the river. And that's a place where you can actually watch the person make jewelry or make pottery, woodworking, cutting boards. You can watch the artist, you can take classes there, and they can sell their goods. But it is not, large-scale operation of manufacturing of things. So we studied this across the county, across the state of Tennessee and other surrounding areas that come up. Bristol has something similar. It's just a hybrid of their business zone outside the main part of their downtown. Kingsport also has a hybrid zone. So this is what we're coming up with, and this was, again, reviewed several times by our Planning Commission, Kingsport, and Bristol, all coming to you unanimously in favor.
You've heard the explanation. Ms. Thorpe, we have a few folks seeking recognition. Have questions? Start with Commissioner Slagle.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Orbit. So what exactly did you have to go to Bristol Planning to help them understand?
Well, I didn't mean anything by that, but the first time, I guess it was wrapped in with the other tax amendments, so.
You tried to sneak in a zoning amendment that had already failed the county, is why you had to go back and explain it.
Oh,
So,
no,
to be clear, that's exactly what happened. The Planned Artisan
No.
District was never an issue. I'm done.
Well, I apologize, I never would sneak anything in. When we had a grouping of other zoning amendments, each zoning amendment should be voted on separately. In some cases, the use table had those highlighted. The special events failed at county commission. That should have been taken out when we presented the Planned Artisan District. So no, sir, there was no sneaking it in. I think there was just some miscommunication between staff when it was re-presented to the Bristol Planning Commission. I would never sneak anything in. We're excited about this district. We have folks that want to be able to do this and not move elsewhere. So.
Commissioner Hayes, then Commissioner Glover. Commissioner Hayes.
What current zoning will be eligible for this and what will be not eligible?
Right, so the Planned Artisan District would be its own, but then you could, if you're already in M1, you could do this. Or in other
If I'm an A1 or if I'm an R1 or,
Well, to sell and to have the public come to your property is a business. But, if you're just woodworking for yourself and then you sell at a craft fair or individuals, that's different. But to be able to do it on site and actually have a showroom for customers to come, that is a business.
So is there any current zoning that would be not eligible to be even considered for this zone?
Yes, M1, M2, PMD1, PMD2. But if the person is not wanting that overkill of general manufacturing, and this is what they want to do, they probably have a better chance of getting rezoned this than a higher manufacturing zone, which is what is happening.
I guess I'm more asking like on the residential side of things, an R1, just for instance, an R1 current zoning, are they allowed to apply for this artisan zoning?
So because this is a planned artisan district in the manufacturing zone, it is limited to collectors and arterial roads, so it would not be in a subdivision or a rural area.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there is
Limitations.
space?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Glover.
Thanks, sir. Amber, when I read this intent and limitations, who is going to decide what on this? Who's going to make that decision?
So the individual landowners would come and apply for a rezoning.
I know this goes back to the folks with the woodworking shop.
Mm-hmm.
By passing something like this, is this the only way they're going to be able to have a woodworking shop or anyone else?
No, so this was so that it would actually be more attractive to apply for this type zoning district. We have several M1 districts. The Tri-County Industrial Park is primarily M1. The thought process was that's general manufacturing. That's large scale, large employers, distribution, things that might need urban services and sewer. This is small scale and limited, more enticing, kind of branding it and limiting it to these type uses.
When I look at the Section B use listing, artisan workshop, art studios, cultural creation centers, gallery workshop, jewelry making, pottery making, and going down the line, I don't see any of these as being a multi-million-dollar business. And I'm concerned that every time that we create a new zone, we create new problems for everybody else in the county. And that's the problem I have with things like this.
Okay, well, if we didn't create this district, the only alternative for someone who wanted to apply to do this, whether it's woodworking or pottery making, in order to have their artisan space and their equipment and a gallery and a showroom, that's commercial, but we don't allow those type operations in our commercial zones. So this is a hybrid of commercial and light manufacturing and a more limited scope. Right now, the only thing I could suggest is for them to go to an M1 district. And that has a much broader land use and may or may not be appropriate in their request. More likely to be turned down unless it's surrounded by other industrial uses, like in a park, industrial park. That's the feedback we got from the other planners, planning commissions, and studying other reports around the state. So it's just an opportunity. But yes, anytime you create a new district, they will come before you all on a case-by-case basis.
Is anything like this in place in our surrounding counties?
Surrounding counties, I wouldn't compare us to
Carter County, Washington County? They don't have anything like this?
I wouldn't really compare us to Carter County or Washington County. They have more of a pyramid zoning. It's just not, I'm sorry.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Commissioner Jones.
I like on, I guess it's for the 51035. The first three lines really spell out what the intent is within the rest of that paragraph. I like that you've got, it may not involve certain things and additional things that are prohibited. So there is some guidelines about what can be done in this zone, what's allowed. The only question I have is that you put it on, if I come in and I buy a driveway that goes back and I buy 100 acres of property, and on that property I want to do pottery and stuff, is the entrance of my driveway, are you saying that's got to be an artillery on one of those roads?
So all of our business zones and manufacturing zones require street frontage, road frontage, arterial or collector, unless they're grandfathered in. Rural residential, large tracts, unless it's part of a planned, industrial park, it wouldn't really be appropriate to start a business out there. Now, if you wanted to do your personal woodworking or a home-based studio, then that's just a home-based occupation. But this is a hybrid between retail and small-scale manufacturing.
Again, I do like that you do have the restrictions built into this, so thank you.
The feeling is we want to keep folks here. And if this is their passion, if they've moved here from somewhere else, or if they've always been doing this and they got good at it and want to bring it to the community to showcase and sell, we want a place for them here.
Commissioner McMurray.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, I'd love to see it, but I guess really my only concern is like some of the restrictions that we may have. Would you foresee this being more of like a commercial area asking to be rezoned under this artisan, or could it be more residential that would turn into artisan? Because I guess if it's residential turning into artisan, there could be some neighbors that could be upset about the traffic. But if it's more already commercial and we're just wanting to focus on that artisan district, I guess we could run into some problems if there is a business that wants to move in that doesn't meet these criteria.
Right, and so that's true with any zoning change, actually. But where this is intended to go is Highway 75. You still have a lot of farms, you have residential, you have manufacturing, you have storage, you have transitions. Colonial Heights, Fort Henry Drive, you still have lots of subdivisions, but then you have homes that are converting to commercial. And so Highway 126, in both directions, mainly from Blounteville to Bristol, you have a lot of neighborhoods that feed into 126. You have some industrial, some businesses, some things that are grandfathered in. So you still have places where people are going to purchase large tracts, but a portion of it they want to be able to apply for that.
Commissioner Vanover.
Would you say this new district would be less restrictive than the manufacturing and the commercial?
So it's more restrictive than our other manufacturing zones, which is the whole point of it. But it also allows for retail and studios. And so our commercial zones do not allow woodworking, for example, because of the noise and possible dust and so forth. So your commercial districts can be usually also along highways and byways, but a lot of them are still concentrated around other businesses or subdivisions. So it will be a case-by-case basis, but the limitation is that it'll be on our state routes and collectors, not within subdivisions or rural areas. Again, if you do woodworking on the side at home, that's a home-based business. But to be able to allow to have a showcase and a gallery and, students coming or groups coming, that's what this is about.
So it would not be allowed to be in subdivisions?
No.
Correct?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Mrs. Torba, did you have anything else you wish to add about the state's amendments?
all I have. If you have any other questions, wonderful.
Anyone else have any questions for Mrs. Torbett? Without objection, when the board opens, please cast your vote on amendment number 3. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk.
13 yes, 4 no, 7 absent.
Having received the necessary majority for passage, amendment number 3 is adopted. Mrs. Torbett, have anything you wish to add in closing?
I do not. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That concludes public hearing on the zoning amendments. Without objection, the public hearing is closed and we're back on the regular calendar. Next order is public comment on non-zoning related issues. Do we have a list over there, Mr. Jones?
The only thing we had down was zoning comments, nothing else.
There was someone that was...
Well, the one on the bottom says that it's, zoning.
I think Jim. We'll recess for the purpose of going into the public comment portion of the agenda. I'd like to ask Bill Lizio, sir. Did I pronounce it right, sir?
You did, yes.
If you will, sir, introduce yourself and your address, and anyone that wishes to speak public comment, I'll ask anybody else that wishes to come up too, but you'll have 3 minutes, and we'll let you finish, and if you have any questions, we'll...
Okay. Name is Bill Lizio. I live at 1098 Hunting Hills Road in Piney Flats. I'd like to comment on the subdivision approval process that we go through in Sullivan County. I'm a custom home builder, solar designer, installer. I raise Angus on my farm on Hunting Hill Road. I own 2 companies, Custom Smart Homes and Custom Smart Solar. I've been in business for 16 years. We've built hundreds of homes in East Tennessee and Southwest Virginia and installed many residential and commercial solar installations. We specialize in building homes on larger tracts of land and develop sustainable properties. A normal project for us is about $500,000 to $1 million. Over the last few years, our clients have had difficulty finding parcels of land at about the 2-acre to 10-acre size, so we decided as a company to parcel out some tracts of land we owned. I've now done 2 subdivision plans in Sullivan County, and we'll just say that it's not been an easy process. Candidly, I think it's been a lot more difficult than it should be. I currently have a project on Old White Top Road that's run into some trouble, and I purchased 43 acres of pasture land on Old White Top that's close to the racetrack in May of '23. We created a subdivision plan and sent it into the planning department at that time. It was in the July timeframe. The planning department had their time to do their due diligence, and as a result of that work, they requested that we rezone. It was a split zone. There's a little bit of commercial property in the driveway area, and the rest was residential. Our intention was larger tracts of land. It could all be R1. When I talked to the people in Bristol for their planning district, they're kind of surprised. They said, "Why are you here? Why are you doing this rezoning?" And I said, "Well, I was asked to do it, and I have no problem. I'll do it." So we moved forward with that. In September, they approved, and then the commission here approved that rezoning. So that was taken care of. After the successful rezoning, I moved forward with a pretty expensive stormwater plan, which was just recently completed. And then so we've moved to final approvals. Just within a week ago, My surveyor was told that, I'm sorry, but you'll not get final approvals for this plan because your parcels have flag lots, and there's a new regulation regarding flag lots, and you don't meet those regulations. So some information that should have been told to us way back in July before I spent a ton of money on a plan was never brought to our attention. You know, a preliminary plan that doesn't meet the planning department's criteria is a 4-alarm fire, and you stop the project, you don't spend money, you work through that before you proceed. I've been in business for 44 years and done a lot of different projects in my life, and so just feel I've been kind of treated unfairly or unjustly in this case. But we spent money on soils testing, expensive stormwater plan. I've attended 2 meetings with the planning director and discussed in August twice another parcel I subdivided in Hunting Hills Road that there was an issue with adjacent flag lots. And we worked through that. We redrew those plans, no problem. Got us an agreeable plan, and that was approved. I always touch base on all the projects I have going. I had a variance. Yes, sir. Wrapping up on time.
If you could, sir.
Okay. So we had an opportunity in August to discuss adjacent flag lots as being an issue. It was never brought up. And what was brought up is go to the meeting in Bristol and then come to the commission, get your rezoning done, which we did. So to go through this process, spend the money, and I've also sold 2 of the lots. I've got a family that like to build a nice home. They raise horses. And so I've got lots under contract, and I'm back to square one on a preliminary plan. And I've got 20 copies here of the plan if you'd like to see them, if you'd like to just take a peek at them.
You can definitely bring one here so I can give it to the clerk.
So there's
there's a couple folks I think have questions where there's no objection. I would like to recognize Commissioner King. He has a question. Anyone else has a question for Mr. Liggio, just press your button. I'll recognize you. Commissioner King.
Thank you. At the time that you were doing the plan, was you aware of the flag law, or was it in force at that time, or when was it put in force, or do you have any idea?
Well, the flag lot plan or regulation happened during my Hunting Hills subdivision. And so that was happening after we had already done a preliminary plan on Old White Top Road. And so that's what I was saying. I was in the planning director's office in August twice to talk about that subdivision, and this was not brought up. That, hey, the adjacent flag lots at Old White Top are not going to be acceptable. And I assumed, I had been through the process of going for rezoning and going to Bristol Planning District. I was kind of surprised, oh, I got to go to Bristol, it's Sullivan County. And that in that meeting, they even complimented me on the subdivision plan. They said, this is nice, it's larger acre. I've got a mini farm there, a 10-acre tract, 5-acre tract. And they complimented the subdivision plan. And so, warning me about these flag lots they're not going to do. Like I said, there'd been a 4-alarm fire, and there were 2 opportunities face to face to bring to my attention that this is not going to be acceptable. I would not spend the money on a stormwater plan, and had my surveyor doing all kinds of work.
Okay, you've got 4 driveways,
yes, sir,
side by side, going into different lots.
Yes, sir.
And those lots, you're probably talking about a $500,000 or up home going on those lots.
Yes, sir.
So, I guess my problem is, what's wrong with those 4 driveways side by side?
I have no idea. It's a problem in Sullivan County now.
Well, evidently it is, because they have supposedly, I haven't seen it, but supposedly there is a law passed here in Sullivan County that you can have these flag lots in these roads side by side.
What's gonna happen, excuse me, Blaine, I just make a comment specifically to that. So you have a larger tract of land, and you'd like to have larger parcels, and you don't wanna put in a road and spend $100,000 or $1 million, because once you start building roads, you can't have large parcels. You're gonna end up with D.R. Horton half-acre lots and cracker boxes, and that's the only thing that's affordable. And people that we build for, the people that are coming to Sullivan County that don't want to live in small subdivisions or existing subdivisions, want some room, some space, they want to enjoy some activities on their property. And these people are investing heavy. I mean, my goodness, that's when we're done, they're adding swimming pools and outbuildings and things like that. These are the people we want in our community, in our county.
Well, I guess my point is, if you're gonna build a $500,000 home on one of these lots, you're gonna pave your driveway, or you're gonna concrete your driveway.
Possibly, yes, sir.
You know, unless you use it as something else, and then you know, it'll remain gravel.
Right, right.
But
and the other part is, there's an expensive stormwater plan that makes sure that this is done right, there's no problems during construction activities, and when we're done, the water goes where it's supposed to go, and not create a problem.
So, if you did away with the 4 driveways and put a road up, you know, to Sullivan County specs down to where it would need to go, $100,000 easy. So
Yes,
that's the whole deal here is, you know, you're, with this law, you're creating more expense to the, you know, anybody who wants to develop.
And you're making to the point that people can't do a project. If they say the budget's $1 million, and that's, they buy the land, they build everything, you're just making it a $2 million project, because the land cost has gotta go up to reimburse the builder or developer for his costs. And so flag lots are necessary. I mean, they really are. They're not, you know, there are cases where safety could be a concern, and I understand that, site difference on roads and things. Old White Top, that's a dead-end road. That's a dead-end road. There's very little activity. Race time, there might be some RVers down there. There's some campsites around. But it's a rule that doesn't really fit, and it'll change the project, change the nature of the project. It sets us back quite a bit. Money-wise, and lose a sale on land and on a home build. So it hurts, and I just think the process was not good. I mean, there's no protection in the process. I don't mind complying with any regulation. Just tell me the rules of the game, and we'll do exactly that. Okay, this is my community. I'll play by the rules. Don't change the rules on me, or not tell me about a rule that's going to get enacted that's going to derail me. That's not being fair.
And if you're ready, Commissioner Gamble, will recognize Commissioner Slagle if you don't have that. Go ahead. Commissioner Slagle, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Lizio, thank you for bringing this to our attention and taking the time to come here and speak with us. I don't know that this is a question or statement for you or for Ms. Torbett. This process is unacceptable, frankly. I don't know what we do to fix it at this juncture, but for it to pass Bristol planning and to pass county planning in 2 separate bodies, and then to come back after you've had significant expenditures to support growth in Sullivan County for families we want in Sullivan County, just unacceptable. If I'm not mistaken, I believe this is in Bristol's urban growth boundary, but it is Sullivan County land. So I guess the question is, I don't know, maybe this is for Dan, but which one, so if it meets Bristol regulations, but somehow it now doesn't meet Sullivan County regulations after the fact, who calls the jump ball? Is it Bristol planning, or is it county planning, as it relates to zone, what's allowable on the property?
Well, I think I would defer to Amber on that, because I don't know all the facts, but it sounds like it's in Sullivan County's Planning Commission jurisdiction, so Sullivan County would be in control. I could be wrong. They're not, Amber's shaking her head no, so it must be a Bristol issue. I should bow out of this because I don't know the facts.
Fair enough. Yeah, there's gotta be, we're gonna continue to run into this issue if we don't correct it with other developers as well. You know, we've got, you know, Bristol urban growth boundary. These folks and developers go to Bristol and get approval. You can come to this body and get approval, and then after the fact, figure out that they've got something wrong. It's just really unacceptable.
Commissioner Aker, then Commissioner Iverson.
Thank you, Chairman. Again, not to put Dan on the spot, just a formality question maybe, or anyone that sits on the county commission planning and zoning. Is there an appeal process for Mr. Lizio to appeal this like we do in the cities?
Yes. You asking me?
Yeah, anybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything in these boards, Board of Zoning Appeals, Planning Commission, they can all be appealed. It sounds to me like these new regs are in Bristol's Planning Commission subdivision, is that correct?
No, it's the other way around, from what I understand.
That's what I said a minute ago, and Amber, I thought was shaking her head, no, I'm confused. But to answer your question, yes, any decision is appealable. Subdivision regulations are controlled by the Planning Commission. This body doesn't have anything to do with that. Now, he's also mixed into the discussion the fact that he got his property rezoned. That's a whole different thing, and this body is involved in rezoning. But this body has nothing to do with subdivision regulations. That's solely the Planning Commission. And if it's in the Sullivan County Planning Commission, then it would be something that the members of that commission, I think, they're either appointed by the mayor and are confirmed by this body or vice versa. But if it's Bristol's Planning Commission subdivision regulations, then clearly we wouldn't have anything to do with it.
Right, and that's why we're here, because I sit on planning and zoning, and I can tell you a lot about this situation. And the map or the plat that we're looking at that Mr. Lizio passed out, in my mind is a Sullivan County map, correct? I mean, it's the survey map from Sullivan County.
Yes, sir. It was for our Sullivan County Planning Department.
Yeah, because I have to sign all the maps in Bristol after we approve them, and then they get approved. And that's where, like Commissioner Slagle was saying, there's a disconnect, because I talked to Bristol on Tuesday night about this. It comes in front, it was rezoned, like Mr. Lizio said, there was a little bit of parcel in it that was B3 from years ago, some reason, so to make all this uniform, very easy, we started that process. And then rezoned it, like he said, we in Bristol thought it was a done deal, because we really like this thing. But it's in the urban growth boundary, so yes, it's technically, and then yes, Dan or Amber can absolutely correct me. It's a Sullivan County thing, but it's in the Bristol urban growth boundaries, why it comes in Bristol. But from what I'm understanding based on the conversations I've had, so yes, I could be wrong. The subdivision regulations of Bristol would allow this. The subdivision regulations of Sullivan County do not allow this, and we may have changed those at some point during his process from the beginning of rezoning to now. And that's why I'm thinking the first step is probably go to Board of Zoning and Appeals, because I can tell you in Bristol, if something has changed during a process, usually it's taken care of during that process. But the other step is, I think as a body, for the urban growth boundary districts, we've got to make sure we should have consistent regulations. And that's what we don't have here from the way I understand everything based on conversations and all that. The regulations are not consistent between city and county when you have an overlap of this area and such. So yes, I mean, if there's a way for us to fix it tonight, I'd make the motion and hopefully get it passed. I don't think there is tonight, but I do think that is something that we should look at strongly to get fixed in the near future and everything.
Going to recognize Commissioner Iverson and Mr. Lizio. I'll give you last words. You can close up, and I'll invite you to stick around for the rest of the meeting to speak to anybody you wish to.
Sure. Thank you.
Commissioner Iverson.
First off, I'll apologize because you're talking about flag lots and I didn't know what that was, so Google just answered that for me, so thankfully there. I guess the part I'm kind of confused about, and just coming into the game late on this, but what changed and who changed it? I mean, I'm trying to figure out that part of it, because I didn't get, you may have said, and I just missed that in the conversation, so
Well,
The regulation
just
changed.
recently, and Amber could tell you exactly when, but there was a proposed regulation to disallow adjacent flag lots.
So that.
And that got passed,
If it changed, it was most likely us that changed it then.
I guess so, yes, you would have to sign
That's,
off on
and that's
that.
what I'm kind of curious, because if a Sullivan County rule changed, that means we changed it, right? That's what I was saying. I mean, so if it's something we changed that we didn't realize we were changing that caused this problem, it sounds like it's up to us to fix the problem. So I'm with Mr. Aker, if we can identify when we changed what we changed, and we can actually fix what we've broken, because if we've got somebody that's trying to do the right thing, following the right policy and following the right procedure, and somehow we unknowingly changed the rule on him, it's something that we should step up and fix. So I'm not sure if we can fix it tonight, but I think we can identify it by the time that we come back together, and it doesn't take a planning meeting for us to change it. Actually, that's next week. I think we could actually do that also, right? We can change things then. So we cannot? Okay, I thought that's when we could actually change everything. But if we can't, that's fine. Next month is just quick enough. But I think it's something that we need to look into. If it's something that we broke, I apologize. Because if it's something we broke, I sure didn't realize we broke it. And I'm not sure if we can fix it, but at the same time, if we broke it, we can usually fix it. So I would be wanting to look into that a little bit more. So you were notified by Sullivan County, I imagine, is that?
Well, my surveyor called me and said, we're not gonna get our final approvals because of the flag lots. So just to reiterate on timing, the preliminary plan was submitted in early July, I think the 7th of July. I had meetings on the 8th of August and the 28th of August to discuss this very issue on a different subdivision. And I touched base on all my projects, say, okay, we're doing this, and I told Amber I was working on the rezoning, and we're moving right along. So to me, that's the opportunity to say, hey, wait a second, you got the same issue on Old White Top.
I guess, you know, sort of the law of unintended consequences. Sometimes things happen that weren't really meant and looked at. So
Yes, sir.
hopefully we can look at it. Thank you.
Mr. Lizio, I thank you for coming up. Hold on one. Commissioner King.
Being that Amber is our planning and zoning coordinator, would it not be polite to her to let her speak on this and give her side of the story?
Do you wish to speak to the commission, Mrs. Torbett? Thank you, Mr. Lizio.
So, just to clarify, the subdivision regulations are a document of each planning commission. So the review of this development is Bristol Planning Commission. It is our zoning, but this amendment is a planning issue that the planning commission can sort out. The zoning allows for flag lots, 25 feet for lots 2 acres or less, 50 feet for lots over 2 acres. The issue that the county has faced is back-to-back-to-back-to-back flag lots, or flag lots that do this. So Mr. Lizio and I have talked, yes, many times on the Hunting Hill Road property. He had large tracts that were over 5 acres. If you have large tracts that are over 5 acres, it's not technically a subdivision that the Planning Commission has to approve by state law. So therefore, those were approved. Some of the lots were then replatted into smaller lots. Then the Planning Commission reviewed that. And things happen as, you know, as the developer landowner sells lots, some people want more than one lot, some people want the whole farm, some people just want, you know, 1 acre. So obviously we do a lot of replatting to customize to whatever they can sell. In this particular case on White Top, it is Bristol. It went to Bristol Regional Planning Commission for the rezoning, then back to you all for final approval because it's still in the county, but the development plan went to their planning staff, their engineers. I got a copy of a concept to use for your rezoning. At that time, we did talk about, well, this is in the sharp curve. Do we need, there were lots of different versions that his surveyor presented to me and how we could work that out. But ultimately, it's not my decision or our planning commission's decision, it's up to Bristol Planning. So if they approve the preliminary, then, you know, that's up to the planning commission. They do give me a copy as a courtesy. I'm looking for zoning compliance. And I did reiterate the concern of 4 flag lots in a row in a sharp curve. The cost of building, grading 4 long flag lots, even if they're all gravel, is a huge expense, and individual water lines, where in the county, under our regulations, you can do a rural road. Yes, it's paved, but it's not curb and gutter. It's still a rural road. There are other options, but that's something that gets sorted out at the planning commission. It's not a zoning law. So ultimately, his White Top Road subdivision is up to Bristol Planning. If they're large tracts over 5 acres, by state law, it's not even a subdivision. It may still require stormwater analysis by the state for that many lots, but so it's nothing that you all approved or can change. Our zoning allows for flag lots, but when you're looking at a large-scale farm with lots of road frontage, you know, the planning commission, Bristol or Kingsport or our county are going to look at the best layout of the land. Sometimes topography and where we live, especially in the east zone or lower Kingsport area, you're going to have more flag lot situations because you have all this land to reach back up for the views of the lake or whatever. But if it's open farmland with a ton of road frontage, there are other options. You're not reducing the number of lots, still get the same number of home sites. But again, that's something that the planning commission can work out.
Ms. Torb, a couple folks are seeking recognition. Begin with Commissioner Iverson, then Commissioner Jones.
Okay.
Commissioner Iverson.
So I guess I get back to my original question. So the who is Bristol? Bristol shut this down?
I don't know if the Bristol Planning Commission, I provided my feedback as a courtesy, but I didn't get the stormwater, the engineering, I didn't get any of that. That was their internal staff and planning commission review.
So
As a courtesy, the city engineer sent me the SWIP, the stormwater plan.
So no one in Sullivan County, including our planning commission, shut this down?
No.
So if Bristol, like you said, if Bristol's good with it, I mean, it seems to me, the way I look at things is this: if you can't do it in the city, that's why people move to the county. The restriction should be less when we go to the county, just for the pure fact of more freedom, it's not as restrictive. So if Bristol is good with it, I don't understand why we're not, but if you're saying we're not, it wasn't us. So I guess I'm back to the not really understanding what I don't know, so I'll stop with that.
And I don't want to throw my fellow planners under the bus. They are great about sending me minor plats. I get plats from Kingsport and Bristol Planner all the time, and I'm looking at it from zoning compliance, because that's all that I regulate in the county, but within their urban growth. That part works well. Construction plans for major developments, I think we can do better on coordination. But I believe since, you know, you had a concept plan and the rezoning, things might have changed. I know that his surveyor kept me in the loop in the very beginning, but.
Just trying to figure it out, because if someone has obviously told Mr. Lizio no. I
Oh,
mean,
no, the county does have concerns on 4 flag lots in a row in a sharp curve, when you have other options.
Well, concerns and saying no are different.
Right, well, we can't say no. It's not our jurisdiction. Now, the highway department will authorize or do the driveway connections.
Okay.
Again, it needs zoning, as far as I can remember.
Commissioner Jones.
I don't know if it's a question for you, Amber, or Mr. Lizio, but that curve, from the appearance of this drawing, there are islands in that curve with, looks like they're showing 1, 2, 3 accesses. 3 of the flag lots go to, it appears, to these access that go into 3 different locations in that road. Am I looking at this wrong?
Yes, sir. It's, there's the main road, and it looks like somebody just paved the county must have paved around that area, just widened it out. I don't know why they would do that, but the road is just one dead-end road, and there's a curve in that road. There's one home off of that road across the street from us.
Right.
And that's it, but I don't know what they did or why they did that, why they had that extra paving there. Those little islands, just little areas of grass.
But that, so that is pavement on this
Yes,
map?
yes, sir.
And islands of grass?
Yes, sir.
And 3 of these lots access that property. There's another one that's needs, the upper one, the larger one, accesses into, it looks like grass that would go right into would need to cross that. I don't know who owns that piece of property, those grassy spots.
It's gotta be all your right of way.
It's all right of way.
It is, yes.
So it'd be up to the highway department to give an access to those. Okay, and I was just, so Amber, you have no problems with this. Your planning, the planning department did not give a yes or no on this.
As a courtesy, I got a review this week from the city engineer, because the stormwater coordination, making sure that all the construction that will take place is our department to oversee. So he did give me the stormwater analysis. And of course, in that is the preliminary plan.
So did was there any issue with the stormwater analysis?
I haven't reviewed it yet. We always send it. I'm not sure if the city is going to review it and we just accept it. It's our jurisdiction to enforce, but it's their planning commission. That's the thing about urban growth, the planning. We normally coordinate very well, but you know, this is a situation I think where you have some smaller lots and some larger lots to maximize. So to say I'm 100% happy with it, well, I asked his surveyor in the very beginning if there were other options to lay it out. And there were different reasons, like to avoid a pond or something like that. I can't remember. But again, ultimately it's up to Bristol Planning and Bristol Planning Commission. The driveway connections will have to be reviewed by the Highway Department.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Vanover, then Commissioner Akers.
Mr. Wood, did any regulations from Sullivan County change from the time Mr. Lizio started until now?
On this project?
Yes.
I don't know the timing of when he submitted to Bristol, but the Planning Commission did amend their subdivision regulations for flag lots to take a better look on back-to-back-to-back flag lots.
Did that affect his project?
Well, it's not a zoning change, so technically no. But we've had these conversations with the Bristol planners on other Cant Hook Hill subdivision, things like that. And you've got to look at site visibility, you've got to look at drainage. So, I mean, every site's different, and that's why the Planning Commission has to look at it.
I thought Mr. Lizio said from the time he changed until now, some regulation changed that affected him.
Yes, and as he said, we worked through that on the Hunting Hill project. We've got.
So you resolved that?
Well, we do have 3 flag lots in a row, but they may share a driveway. I'm not sure.
But once someone starts a project and they've got what they think.
Yeah, they're good to go. They're grandfathered in the process. Yeah, we don't change laws on people midstream and make them.
I'd hope not.
No, absolutely not.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Akers, then Commissioner Crosswhite.
Thank you, Chairman Pro Tem. Is there a possibility that the surveyor misunderstood and has gotten everybody in an uproar? Because Bristol's saying it's approved.
It could
I just got
possibly
the
be.
text.
Okay, could be. I don't know.
And that's what I'm saying, the flag lot. So could the surveyor misunderstood your concerns about flag lots, saying you're not going to get this approved?
Oh, absolutely, because I don't have the authority to say it's not approved.
Yeah, I mean that's why I know I've been sitting in front of meetings for 6 months with Mr. Lizzie, or the ones that have been coming in front of Bristol. I thought it was a done deal, so when the phone call started Tuesday afternoon, I was like, all right, we've got to figure out where the disconnect is. So maybe there's not so much a disconnect between our regulations, there's a disconnect between someone's understanding of a conversation that took place. Could that just maybe, because I'm under the impression, I think Bristol is too, based on the text I'm sitting here getting, it's a go.
That could be. The county didn't shut it down. We did express our concerns.
Right.
And I'm familiar with his surveyor because it was the same as Hunting Hill. It's the same conversation.
Right, and that's what I'm saying.
Same
So no
developer,
offense to-
same
I mean, look,
conversation.
We know who the
Yeah.
surveyor is, it's on this property.
Yeah.
So maybe, with all due respect, is maybe the surveyor taken because of what happened at the other project
Could be.
to saying this is, we've got to make this change because of that. But I'm under the impression, based on conversations I had Tuesday night, and text messages right here, I don't think that's the case. And everything.
So has Bristol approved the final plat or just the preliminary?
That's what I'm saying. I'm under the impression it was approved, and that's where we may be about the final or preliminary.
Yeah, and I don't know, if you're not building roads or putting in infrastructure, well, the state requires stormwater analysis for
Right.
these many tracks, whether you build a road or not. So I think that probably took a while for their engineer to get that done. All I can say is I recently got the email from the city engineer when he forwarded me the SWIP as a courtesy, because he reminded his staff that, or the planners, that our office will be responsible for construction oversight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I would say, I mean, look, we can keep asking questions, but I think we're nailing it down a little closer, that some conversations need to be had to make sure who said what. Because I do think, if there is something that we need to do, we can do it, but I think it's moving based on that, my text and stuff. Yeah, because see, we approved the preliminary plat in August of '23.
Okay.
I'm reading all my stuff.
Because that would be after the rezoning passed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and so that's why I want to say loud and clear, I think there's just been a little misunderstanding between the surveyor and past experience and this project, based on conversations.
Could be, and, you know, same owners.
Right. Right, so because we
Same
approved
surveyor.
the preliminary plat in August of '23. So now, there will be a final plat and some engineering, but like I said, there's been nothing that I'm aware of Bristol stopping this, and Amber has been very honest. She hasn't stopped it, but, I mean, I don't see her down there picketing and saying no. So I just think, honestly, I think now that I've heard everything tonight, I think there's just been a little disconnect between the conversation. And let's make sure, but if not, we'll try to figure it out.
Commissioner Crosswhite.
Thank you, Chairman Pro Tem. I just hope that we can get this done for this gentleman, because I'm sure he's losing money every day. And this is gonna be a big asset for this area out in here, so whatever we need to do, please let us do it to get him started back.
Yeah, again, it's not a zoning issue.
That clears the board. Thank you, Mr. Torb. Mr. Lizio, thank you. No one else has signed up for public comments. Any objection to closing, excuse me, somebody?
Final comments?
I'll allow it, but quickly, please.
So, just to be clear, if there's no objection on the Sullivan County Planning Commission, we know that Bristol likes the plan, then I should be able to go somewhere tomorrow and walk in and submit the final plans for approval and start my signatures. Where do I go?
Bristol.
Go to Bristol. Oh, well, that's all I need to know. Once again, just tell me the rules of the game. I'll follow them, and I don't want to show up at these meetings. I'd just rather do business. So, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Anyone else seeking recognition from the floor? Commissioner Ward.
Since David received some text, will he need to give his phone up to Ms. Jacobs for county record? So how does that work?
Technically, yes, but I'm not going
It sounds kind of official, so I'm just saying.
Technically, yes, I'm kind of afraid to seize his phone. Without objection, the public comment of the agenda is closed. We're back on the regular calendar for review of proposed resolutions. Recognize Commissioner Crosswhite on item number 2.
Thank you, Chairman Pro Tem. This resolution comes from the school board. It's to recognize the fiscal year 2023 no kid, which I'm going to say no child hunger grant funds. They have got funds that have left over from 22-23 for $26,000, and they'd like to go ahead and use those. It's a total of $16,081, and plus the personnel, employees, benefits, and the capital outlay. And I'd like to put this on the consent agenda because they need to use this as soon as possible.
You've heard the explanation on item number 2, and the sponsor moves consent calendar. Any objection to item number 2 being placed on the consent calendar? Without objection, item number 2 is placed on consent calendar. Without objection, recognize Commissioner Crosswhite on item number 3.
Thank you again. This resolution is for expenditures from the Sullivan County, again, is coming from the Board of Education, General Purpose School Fund, and this will be to do installation of lighting at the Sullivan East High School baseball field for a total of $350,000, and again, it comes out of their school fund. And any questions, but I'd like to have this on consent agenda too.
You've heard the explanation on item number 3. Recognize Commissioner Akers on item number 3.
Thank you, Chairman Pro Tem. And Joyce, I don't know if this is a question for you or some of your co-sponsors. I mean, instead of spending this money, can they not just play during the daylight?
That would be wonderful, Mr. Akers.
Commissioner Crosswhite moves consent calendar on item number 3. Any objection to item number 3 being placed on consent calendar? Without objection, item number 3 is placed on consent calendar. Recognize Commissioner Vanover on item number 4.
Item number 4 is a resolution of support for Sullivan County Solid Waste Department's recycling programs, continued growth and future expansion, with a focus on economic opportunities and public awareness to increase recycling efforts, which will enhance diversion of recyclables from the solid waste stream. We talked about this for several months. But the purpose of this resolution is just to put our county into a better position to hopefully apply for grants, as we would be able to say we are a recycling-friendly county. Also to show potential business partners such as Eastman Domtar that we're a willing participant in recycling, and hopefully that will enhance our abilities and our opportunities with them. So no money involved. I'd like to ask this to be put on waiver rules, but not on the consent calendar. And I'd like to read it again next week and hopefully get some good publicity for our recycling efforts. And I would hope that everyone would be a co-sponsor on it.
You've heard the explanation on item number 4. Any questions for Commissioner Vanover on item number 4? Commissioner Vanover moves waiver of rules. Item number 4 be heard on next week's regular calendar. Without objection. There's some sponsors on item number 5. My copy doesn't have sponsors on 5. Good, we have.
White Herschel did well.
There we go. There it is on the screen. Recognize Commissioner King on item number 5.
Thank you. This resolution is to grant Sullivan County Highway Department to utilize funds from their fund balance to purchase specialized equipment. They've got some equipment that is very outdated, and they're wanting to update this to help keep our roads in good shape. We've got right at 850 miles of road in Sullivan County, and it takes a lot of equipment and stuff to keep that going. And anyway, you can read the list of what they're wanting to purchase, and I think this is it's no new money. It's money out of their fund balance that they can use, and all they what we got to do is, to, utilize them to use. It's all we're doing here. I want it on waiver of rules, and, I'd, like to pass it this. I think it's a good thing for them, to get some more new equipment. Not this kind of money. Well, I'd be,
I agree, that's what we're talking.
most times when money's involved, you don't do it on consent.
Good waiver rule.
Let's leave it, waiver rules, and that way we can look at it again, next Thursday.
You've heard the explanation on item number 5, sponsor moves waiver of rules, recognize Commissioner Jones on item number 5.
Reading through these, what's gonna be purchased, that print machine, is that a copier? I'm just wondering for,
No.
is that a sign for making highway signs, or what is it?
No, it's the paint on the road.
Sign department, okay, I got the explanation from the highway.
Is it to make signs? That's what it is,
Yeah, is that the green?
All right.
All of it, okay. That's all.
We'll make one that says Sam Jones way.
You, Commissioner King, you move waiver of rules.
Yeah.
Commissioner King moves waiver of rules on item number 5 without objection. Item number 5 will be heard again on that. Excuse me. Commissioner Glover, gotta be quick.
Water wash truck, I thought that was what you done. Water wash truck, is that what you do?
Yeah.
That's good. Love it. Tell me what a water wash truck is.
Do
It's a high-pressure vehicle that will clean the streets. It'll assist in our striping.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Do what now?
I'm gonna have to start rephrasing these questions.
Mechanical difficulty.
Mr. Crosswell was wanting me to ask him something. What was you wanting me to ask him?
Don't get me in on it.
Do you seek recognition?
No, it's partial.
Commissioner King, I'm gonna give you the last word on this. Move waiver of rules.
Move, yes, move, waiver rules, and, I hope everybody votes in affirmative on this, and anybody wants to be a co-sponsor, we'll put everybody votes for yes, we'll do.
Item number 5 is on waiver of rules. We heard at next week's regular commission agenda. That concludes the resolution portion of the agenda. Anyone have any announcements?
Motion to adjourn.
Week after next. It was last week, last Saturday.
Third.
Yeah. 2 weeks.
Got a motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Stand adjourned. Thursday night.
We can get a watch out.